especially Tomasulo's algorithm. A version of the QP is or version of the questions is already shared. So, as discussed, being tutorial, since there is no other study material, this is used only for my help purpose. So, if anyone wanted to take any notes or recording, you may do that. Slides are not there, only the questions, and then we are manually solving it. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we will talk about, we completed the pipelining topics and we have seen what is static scheduling, dynamic scheduling and all. So today we will work out some of the concepts and then try to see whether our understanding about this static and dynamic scheduling, pipelining, Tomasulo's algorithm is correct or not. So I'm giving you 4 statements. Let us try to understand whether it is true or false. In a dynamic scheduled processor, every execution unit write the result and the name of the reservation station waiting for the result onto CDB. So this is the question that is being asked. So we have different functional units and we have the reservation station with respect to each functional unit. And then there is a CDB that is being connecting all of them. And then there is the register file. So in each of these functional units, this is the reservation stations. So CDB is the place where you write the result. Now the question is, in a dynamic scheduled processor, you can have the issue in order and the execution can go out of order, and as long as you are not having operands or you are waiting for operands, the issued instruction is waiting in the reservation stations. Every execution unit write the result and the name of the reservation station waiting for the result onto CDB. That is a statement. So this is how it looks like. Every execution unit like what you have writes the result along with the unit number onto CDB. So this is what is the reservation station and this is the functional unit. So when you produce the result, like what I mentioned in the class, let's say my result is 3, I will produce it at 6,3. It will produce the result 6 as well as it will tell it is produced by execution unit 1. So I am not mentioning the unit of the reservation station, rather I am mentioning the functional unit number along with the result. Why is it doing so? Because when you do so, whoever is waiting in the reservation station, waiting for a result produced by execution unit 1, they can take it and then continue their execution. So every execution unit write the result along with the unit number to CDB, which is forwarded to all reservation station, register file and memory. So looking at that, the first statement is wrong. So it is mentioning the first station along with the result, the name of reservation station, that is wrong. It is the name of the functional unit that produces the result. Now let us go into the second one. In a speculative dynamic scheduled processor, so what do you mean by speculative? I am predicting the branches and executing instructions as if the branch prediction is correct. So then I am making use of reorder buffer. And at the time of committing, so the commit happens only at the speculative type processor. In a speculative dynamic scheduled processor, we can issue an instruction if there is an empty reservation station, even though operands are not available. So here you have to understand, this is called a speculative dynamic scheduled processor. So you have your instruction queue that is there, and then the functional units what has been there. Now, when will issue happen? Issue is in order. Now, what are the things to be done? What do you mean by issue? From the instruction queue, pulling into or pushing the operations into the various reservation station is known as issue. There are 2 things to do. One is we should have a slot in the reservation station. Let us say it's an adding operation. So in the adder, reservation station there should be 1 entry. Second one, there should be a rob entry, reorder buffer. Why we use reorder buffer? At the end of the operation, the result is written into common data bus and then that is reflected in the reorder buffer. Now in reorder buffer, if I don't have a space, then where will I store the result? To ensure that at the time of issue itself, I pre-reserve a slot in the reorder buffer, and that is known as rob tag, reorder buffer tag is there. So I require two things. First is a space in the reservation station. Second one, a space in the reorder buffer. So the statement in a speculative dynamic scheduled processor, we can issue an instruction if there is an empty reservation station that is required, even though operands are not available. Along with empty reservation station, we require a slot in reorder buffer. Since the reorder buffer thing is not mentioned, the statement is wrong. We require simultaneous availability of space in the reservation station as well as reorder buffer. Now let us go to the third one. If the register status indicator value of a register is 0, then it means the operand is available in the register file. So the RSI will tell you whether the latest value of a register is in register file. If it is equal to 0, it is register file, or currently being computed by some execution unit, and if so, it will state the execution unit number. That is a dynamic scheduled processor without speculation. If with speculation, it will tell the reorder buffer entry. RSI value will tell the reorder buffer entry. So the statement, if the register status indicator value is equal to 0, it means operand is available. Now the fourth one, in a dynamically scheduled pipeline, instructions are issued in order, executed out of order, completed out of order, and committed in order. So let us see what happens in dynamic scheduling. In order to allow out of order execution, we split the ID stage into two. One is called issue and other one is called read operands. So issue means decode the instruction and check for structural hazard. If that is the case, I will perform the issue. And then we see whether operands are available. If operands are not available, I can issue them. It will wait in the reservation station. So in a dynamically scheduled pipeline, all instructions pass through issue stage in order. This is compulsory. If issue is not allowed, everything other after that also will not be allowed. However, they can be stalled or bypassed each other in the second stage and thus enter execution out of order. This is the way how you are going to see at it. So a dynamically scheduled pipeline, in order issue, one, and then out of order execution, out of order completion, and commit also will be happening in order. So the fourth statement is also correct. It is issued in order, executed out of order, completed out of order, and committed in order. Since statement 3 and statement 4 are true, which of the following statements are false? 1 and 2 are the only false statements. This is the answer for it. Is there any doubt in this? Anyone? Please ask the doubt if there is any doubt in how we come up with this. Please let me know, is there any doubt in this topic so that I can go to the next one. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to the next one. The next question is, consider the following instruction sequence executed on a MIPS floating point pipeline. Operand forwarding is permitted. R indicates integer register and F indicates floating point register. Find the clock cycle in which store instruction reaches mem stage. If 8 of R2 contains value X and F2 contains the value A, then what is stored in 16 of R3? That is a question. So we have a load instruction where the address is computed and from there a floating point value gets loaded to F4. Now F4 is multiplied with F2 and F0 is the resultant. F0 is added with F2 and the final value is in F3 and that gets stored in 16 of R3. And this is the floating point pipeline that is being used. Now let us try to understand the dependency. There exists a dependency between the load and fmul, floating point multiplication. So after you load, you have to wait until the value of F4 is available. Now there is a dependency on F0. So after the fmul, even though operand forwarding is there, fadd can start only if f multiplication is over. And then there is a dependency on F3. After that, we will go to write. So what happens? The first load, it will take 5 cycles. And then with operand forwarding, your F4 value would be available, that is the loaded value is available only at the end of the mem stage. So multiplication can start only after the mem stage of the load instruction. That's why there is a stalled here. That will continue in the decode stage. So the dependency is there is a operand forwarding from output of mem stage to the input of M1. Now there is a dependency on F0, whatever is the result of the multiplication. Result of multiplication is available only at M7. And adding requires F0 as one of the operand. That means I can add, or A1 can happen only after M7. So A1 will happen only at 12. So till this point, it will continue in the decoding phase. That many stalls are there because of the raw dependency. Now, what I need to do is, I need to forward the value of the store. Here in which I can perform it in two ways. The store is going to write the result. So I am going to continue decode there. I can perform execution, that is the computation. This X can happen at any time. Anywhere here, it will compute the address and then the value is to be written. So either I can forward from A4, and the two conditions. If M and M I don't want to happen vertically, then this is the place at which it is going to happen. So essentially, it will be happening. The mem stage is accessed at clock cycle number 17. There is one more thought. If two instructions can happen vertically, provided they are not going to touch memory, then I can schedule like this also. Both mem can happen vertically, one after the another. So let me know if there is any doubt in this. So essentially, the question is what it is going to do. I am going to load a value. So your F4 will get the value X now. Then I'm going to multiply that with F2. So F2, I'm telling the value is stored with A. So it's become AX is the value that gets stored in F0. Then AX plus A, that is getting stored in F3. And that is what is going to be written. So essentially, AX plus A is going to be written inside the memory location. Any query on this question?
Sir, the M and M in the last two rows can be on top, like one below the other, right? Because
that also is possible, because one is FAD, other one is store. In that case, it can be perfectly coming in the same line.
Yeah,
so in that case, then the answer would be 16.
Yeah, we can save one space, like one time.
Yes. Both are correct, 16 and 17, depending on implementation. So what happens is, in certain pipelines, such kind of parallel event of two MEMS may not be possible. Then in that case, you have to stick on to what is been shown in the diagram. But certain microprocessor, that optimization is done. If two instructions are not conflicting at MEM, then we can go for it. Any doubt? Anyone? Any doubt? If that is the case, let me go to the Tomasulo's algorithm. Consider an instruction pipeline of an issue width of 1. Issue width of 1 means that every cycle I can issue one instruction. That uses Tomasulo's algorithm with 2 reservation stations per functional unit. So every functional unit, I can have 2 instructions waiting or being executed. There is one integer multiplication unit, one integer division unit, and one integer add unit, all connected to a single CDB. There is an arbitration mechanism for resolving CDB entry collision. Preference is given in round robin fashion. So 2 instructions or the result of 2 operations cannot enter CDB together. The functional units are not pipeline. An instruction waiting for data on CDB can move to its EX stage in the cycle after the CDB broadcast. Assume the following information about the functional unit. Let's say the integer multiplication, the latency is 4, division is 8, adding is 1. So looking at all these 3, you have to complete the table that has been given using Tomasulo's algorithm with the specification. So what I need to fill in the table? Fill in the cycle number in each the pipeline stage for each instruction and indicate whether its source operands are read from register file, reorder buffer, or CDB. These are the 3 places from which we can get the operation. So ideally it is 4, 8, and 1. Integer adding will take 1, 8 for division, and 4 for multiplication. And the 2 reservation stations per functional unit. So this is basically your table. You have given a sequence of instructions. Then some instructions are of immediate addressing mode. That's why this is #4 and #24. It is immediate addressing mode. The operand value is given along with the instruction. Now you have to fill up at what cycle it is happening. So basically I am filling the time at which issue occurred, then execution stage, when the execution stage is beginning. So for division there are 8 cycles, so I have to tell which cycle it started and when I am going to write the result and when I am going to commit. We know that issue should be in order, commit should be in order, but execution and writing the result or completion of the result can happen out of order. This is what is given. You are supposed to fill up the rest of the table and then find out what is the connection between them. Now, is there any doubt in the question? Did you understand what the question is all about, or you want one more time for me to explain what is being asked? Or is the explanation clear?
Sir, explain one more time.
Okay. So you are being given a sequence of instructions. I have 10 instructions and you can see what are the operands. Now, these 10 instructions are going to enter the pipeline and you are supposed to write the clock cycle number in which each of this instruction is issued. That's why issue column. So this column you have to write the clock cycle number in which the corresponding instruction is issued. The clock cycle number in which the execution started. So we have 3 operations. Add will take only 1 cycle. Multiplication will take 4 and division will take 8. So at which clock cycle the execution started. So division, if it starts at 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cycles, it is going to divide, and the 9th cycle it will write the operation into CDB. This write back is when I am going to write the result into CDB and when I am going to commit. So essentially you have to fill up the time at which this occurred. Now the instructions may have source operands. So here R4 is one of the operand, 12 is the immediate operand. So I have to write from where am I supposed to read the source value. So here RF indicates I should get the value of R4 from the register file, and IM indicates the second operand is immediately available as part of the instruction. Similarly, for each instruction I am supposed to fill. Is it clear now? So Naresh Reddy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us take the case of, yes.
Sir, there was a line written that the functional units are not pipelined. Does it mean we can't do operand forwarding?
No, functional units are not pipeline. Means if I am doing a division operation, then for next 8 cycles, no other division operation can enter. See, we have seen in our floating point arithmetic, the general one, our multiplication unit is pipelined M1 to M7. That means each individual multiplication will take 7 cycles to complete the execution stage, but every cycle a new pair can go in because they have been done in an internal pipeline. Whereas division unit, it is not pipeline. So once you supply something, it may take 25 cycles to come out. Pipelining is not an issue. Whereas multiplication unit, 4 cycles, I cannot take any other multiplication operation. Division cannot take 8 cycles, any other multiplication operation. That means whoever is coming for division, they have to wait in the reservation station.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Any other query to anyone? So I request you to carefully look through the process by which it has been done. So let me clear this marking so that it is easy for you to understand. Okay. So let us take the first instruction. It's a division instruction. So it has to be done in the division unit. And it's already given. The issue happens at clock cycle number 1. So the fetching might have happened before it. Now it's not bothering us. And R4 is the first operand. So the very first one written is the destination. And there are 2 source operand, R4 and 12. So it's called, this is basically R4 equal to R4 divided by 12. From where will I get R4? RF. There are 3 possibilities that operand I can get. Either the operand can be in register file, or I can get from CDB, or already the result is over but not committed, then I will get from ROB. If the result is committed, then I will get from the register file. So I get the contents of R4 from register file. Second operand is immediate. If I issue in 1, I can go to execution in 2, very next cycle. Okay. So at the end of, so during 1, what happened? I am waiting in the reservation station. My values are available. One is an immediate value, other one is the register value already available and kept in the reservation station. At clock cycle number 2, I move to execution. It is division. So what happened? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are the 8 cycles in which division happens. At 10th cycle, I write. You have to be very specific. I write to CDB at clock cycle number 10. Now, if I write to CDB, so here what happens? I'm going to write into CDB at 10 means at the end of the 10th clock cycle, your value is reflected in the reorder buffer. And then very next cycle, since you are the first instruction at 11, I can commit. Once you do 2 or 3 more instructions, it will be more clear to you. Now let us look into what happens to the multiplication instruction. Now see, for the multiplication instruction, your operands are R6 and R12. It is issuing in 2. I cannot issue more than 1 in a current cycle. So issue bandwidth is 2. Both the operands are available in the register file. Now when will I start execution? I will start execution at 3 because I issue at 2. Issue plus 1 is the latest that I can do, the earliest I can do. But if operands are not available, let us say if R6 and R12 are not available, I have to wait. I cannot start execution. Even though I issued, I'm waiting in the reservation station. Now 3, 4, 5 and 6. 4 cycles it will take for multiplication. At clock cycle number 7, I'm writing into the CDB. Now you see, even though it is issued later, it completed before the division. But I cannot commit. I can commit only after committing division. That's why it is 12. This should be in strictly increasing order. 7. Any doubt in the first 2 lines? Anyone? So let us now look at clock cycle number 5. At clock cycle number 5, so we have an adder, a multiplier and a division. In the division in reservation station, this first instruction is there. And in the multiplication unit, the second instruction is waiting in the reservation station. I told I have only 2 entry in the reservation station. When you write the result into CDB, this entry from reservation station is cleared. So when the operation is carrying out in the functional unit, reservation station entry is as such. It will tell functional unit is busy doing the operation. The result is over, then only I remove from reservation station. Now let us go to 3. So 3, the issue of the next division, that is also given. Here what is the peculiarity? R1 is the operand and R1 and R2 are the operands. And it's a division operation. And where will I get R2? R2 I will get from the result of M2. By what time R2 is available? R2 will be available in the CDB at 7. So this can start only at 8 latest. But there is one more problem. The division unit is busy till clock cycle number 10. So at the end of the 9th cycle, this is what I am going to write. At the 10th cycle, I can start a new division. So even though there is a dependency, there exists a dependency between this R2. If division unit would have been available, then based on dependency, I can start the execution at the same cycle. But that is not happening. Here, the problem, there are 2 problems. One is a dependency on R2. Even though now value is available, I cannot start because the division unit is not available. Now, where will I get this R1 from? R1 is available in the register file. Where will I get R2 from? So, when am I going to fill this? This is going to be filled at the time of issue. So, at clock cycle number 3, when I am trying to issue, this filling, 3rd clock cycle I am issuing, that time, where R1? R1 is available in RF. Where can I get from R2? R2 shows that it is still under process. Because from 3rd cycle onwards, the execution starts. So you will get the value from CDB. So I am waiting in the reservation station. The second entry in the reservation station is for this division. Now how long will I wait? I have to wait because I can start only at 10. Why 10? Because this division unit has to complete the operation. Then only I can start. So this 10 is because whenever I am completing at 9, and that 9 plus 1 is this. 9th clock cycle it will complete. 10th clock cycle it will exit the result. So 10th clock cycle a new one can enter. Now it may take another 8 more cycles. So if the completion happens at 18, and that plus 1, 19 is my commit. So this has to be in order. Now I go to the fourth one. So I can issue in the fourth clock cycle, add operation. Now, where is R1? At clock cycle number 4, I know that R1 is going to be released by CDB only, because R1 is yet to be updated. So CDB. What about R3? So nowhere R3 is used. So R3 I can take from the register file. Now, how long I have to wait? Here, adder is free. No other instruction scheduled in the adder. So functional unit is ready. Now, what is the problem? Whatever I write, there is a dependency here, because I have to get the value of R1. R1 will be available in CDB only at 18. So at 19 only I can start. At the end of clock cycle number 18, reservation station gets the value to be returned to R1. R3 is already available. So together they start at 19. And it is an integer addition. So it may take only one clock cycle, 20, and commit at 21.
Excuse me,
Any
sir.
doubt till this? Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir. For the instruction 1 and instruction 3, sir, like we got it 10 and 10. Like the first one write back is at 10, the third one executed is at 10, which means there is like no gap between both of them. But in 3 and 4, it's 18 and 19. I'm getting confused. I think there should be one gap.
No. So 3 and 4, it is a dependency. I wanted to get the result produced by 3 to be used in 4. It is a value of R1 that is important. That is why I get the result in 18. And then that result has to reach the reservation station. Using that, the next instruction will start at 19. Okay? Now, whereas in the case of 1 and 3, this is what you told, no? 1 and 3, I am not using any result. The result is produced in R4. So it is basically you have a division unit. It will produce a result out to CDB. At the same time, someone is waiting there. So the moment he is going out, he can enter. If the result would have been needed by him, then it is plus 1. Here in this case, result is not needed. The result produced by first instruction, the moment result is returned to CDB, the unit is free. So I can immediately start at 10. The case of 3 and 4 is a raw dependency, whereas 1 and 3, it's a structural hazard. Structural hazard is resolved the moment the unit is free. So in clock cycle number 9, actually I am not doing any operation as far as the division unit is concerned. At the end of 9, first division is over. At 10, I write the result, and at the same time, I get the value. Is it clear now, the difference?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other doubt till 4? Till instruction 4?
So if the first instruction hadn't been there, then we would have got the result of R2 at the end of 7. Then should we be starting at 8 in the
8,
third?
8, correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Because the second and third has a raw dependency. So whenever I write the result plus 1, I can start the execution. So the third instruction is delayed because of structural hazard, not because of raw dependency.
Yes, sir.
And how do you fill these two? This is filled at this clock cycle. At the time of issue only I am filling. So don't look into when are they going to start. At the clock cycle number 4, what information you have? Clock cycle number 4, I know that R1 I get from CDB, R3 I get from register file. Yes, any more doubt? So any more doubt, anyone? Now let me go to 5. So 5, what is a dependency? There is a dependency on R2. Other operand is immediate. And how do I get R2? R2 I get from this multiplication instruction. So I issue at 5. At 5, I know that the result to be returned to R2, the register status indicator tell that it will be available from the corresponding CDB only, or that is a value that I get. Now, the result will be produced only at 7. Second operand is immediately available. But first operand I have to wait. So that is 7 plus 1, 8. And this is also integer addition. Only thing is it's an immediate operand. So at 5 I will issue. With one operand I wait in CDB and second operand is immediately available. But 8 only I can start execution it will complete in 9. But it has to wait till 22 because this has to be strictly increasing order and it has to be at least one larger than write back time. Any doubt in 5? Any doubt in instruction 5? Yes. Now you tell me, you have your issue not happening at 6. I can issue only now at 10. What is the reason? The issue is delayed.
We have
Clock
only
cycle
2
number-
reservation stations.
2 reservation stations. So 2 reservation stations for add. So the first instruction is in the reservation station until 19. Only at 20 it is released. And this one is there at 8 until 9 it is going to happen. And then what? Is there any dependency? Is there any dependency? There is a dependency on R7. But R7 value I'll get from 9. So looking at this case, what you see is if I issue at 10, then I can start EX at 11 because by 11, when I issue at 10, the first operand R6 is in register file. Now, why it is ROB? At the clock cycle number 9, at the clock cycle number, you want the value of R7. Why I'm not writing CDB? At clock cycle number 10, CDB value is no longer available there. This has already gone to reorder buffer. So I have to read it from reorder buffer rather than CDB. Had it been 9, I can get it. If it is 10, I have to get it from the reorder buffer only. So first R6 I get from register file. Second one I will get from reorder buffer. Since then I can start execution at 11. 10 I issue, 11 I execute, 12 I write back, and 23 I commit. And then I go to the next instruction. Here it is R8. And why it is 13? Because again the same problem. I can have only 2 entries in the reservation station. This is still holding there. So we got a chance to perform this adding the moment this add came out of the reservation station. Similarly, this will come out of the reservation station only at 12. That means only 13 I can push up into the new one, the entry. And one is the R8 is in RF. Second operand is immediate. 13 I can do no dependency. 14 I will execute. 15 I will complete the result and then I will get it. Now I go to 8th instruction. So 8th instruction, again the same problem. I have to wait for one add instruction to get over. Then only I can issue. That is because of shortage of reservation station. Had there been more reservation station, this stalling will not happen. This is a structural hazard. So now it is R6 and R8. R6 already I get from register file. R8 at the clock cycle number 16, already it is in reorder buffer. So at 16, it will tell that get the value from reorder buffer R8. First operand R6 I get from register file. 17 I will run. 18 I can write the result. But the problem is 18 someone else is already there. CDB2 value cannot write into CDB at the same time. So there is a conflict. So I will wait for one more cycle. Only at 19 I can write the value. This is called CDB conflict. It is already mentioned. When 2 instructions are trying to write into CDB, you have to resolve with round robin, and then here you resolve with this. The earlier one, whoever earlier issued one will write at 18. So I can write only at 19. I have to hold it. Any doubt till then? I'm going to the multiplication operation. So multiplication operation, it is R5, R5 and R10. So I can issue multiplication immediately after this. Issue will happen in order because already I have only one multiplication and that would have long time offer by 7 and 12. So I can easily issue. Where is R5 now at clock cycle number 17? R5 value is written at clock cycle number 12, but till 23, it is in the reorder buffer. Let's say after 23, if this value would have been 24, then it is back to register file. So from 12 till 23, the value of R5 is available in the reorder buffer. And what about 10? 10 is already available in the register file. So 17 I will issue, 18 it will start execution. It is 4 cycles for multiplication, 18, 19, 20 and 21. 22 I can write back, but this can be strictly increasing order, so only 26 I can commit. And then comes the last one. Why it is 20? Because this add will write back only at 8. 19 only it will write back, and the previous add is going to write it only at 18. So there is the previous. So this will write only at 20. This will write only at 19. So only 2 reservation stations. So my adding can happen only at 20. R8 is here. It will be returned to R8 at clock cycle number 15. 15 to 24, the value of R8 is in reorder buffer. So reorder buffer, it is there. And second one, R5 at clock cycle number 20, it is still getting updated. R5 value is still getting updated. At 22 only it will be generated. So I have to wait till the CDB. Now, when can I run? As and when your R5 is dependency value. So 22 plus 1, 23. And 24 is going to be your write back. And 27 is going to be commit. It will take 1 cycle to do the operation. So this is how you are going to fill up the Thomas-Roulos algorithm, looking at dependency, reservation stations, commit order, reorder buffer entry. So everything put together, solving a question like this, you will get a clear idea about what are the timings at which it will happen, how many cycles of stall, from where are the operands taken, the way. Any questions? So if there is no other questions, I'm trying to stop it here. Try to work out as many questions as possible so that you will get an easy grip on these things. And from April 15 onwards, we are going to schedule the Viva. And 3 or 4 students will be conducted Viva together, and it will cover all the topics right from the beginning of the course. And today or tomorrow, we will release the mark of the first quiz. The second quiz we are just going through. Marks of the first quiz based on penalty is almost getting ready. You will get a mail. What is your mark? And what is the subdivision mark for each of the question? And what is the remark? And then their forms will be floated. If at all you have any query on that first quiz, and depending on the answer, if you have anything specific, we will try to address it. Okay. So any questions you can ask, or else we will end the class now. This session was only for this problem solving and numerical understanding. In the backside of the textbook, Hennessy and Patterson, many things are given, and tomorrow we'll start cache memory. Any doubts for anyone? The class is over. You are free to leave.